into the second half of the World Touring Car Championship for 2010. We have completed 11 races. There are 11 still to go. The first of which will be race 2 here at Brands Hatch in Kent. The Grand Prix circuit being the playground for our field of drivers. The first race, plenty of action, a 1-2 result for Chevrolet, with Alain Menu dropping back down to get to the tail of the top 8 to try and put himself on the front for race 2. Well, that move by Menu down the field from 3rd place, which he'd been defending all the way through race 1 from Colin Turkington. He dropped back at the end of the penultimate lap and then all the way down in the end to 7th position. And stewards are taking a look at that, suggesting maybe that was team tactics, which would not be allowed. Now, unless they can produce radio transmission evidence that says, Alain, we want you to drop back now to 7th place, I think they haven't got a hope in proving that. Whether they need to prove it or just suspect it to hand out some sort of penalty, I don't know. But I would have thought, James, as you suggested during the last lap when Alan's car was slowing down, thought instead of actually having a puncture or something, that he was positioning himself off his own bat to be in a position to try and win race 2, because he has, you know, got a good record of winning here. Well, we're going to get back to that later, perhaps. Let's get down to the pit lane, hear from Thiago Monteiro.
Managed to catch up with Thiago Monteiro in the Sayat garage. Thiago, I know you haven't seen the pictures yet, but if you just look at the screen, we can watch the Prio overtake. Tell us what you think.
Well, from my point of view, as you see here, is completely on me, just taking full advantage of being on the inside and just being too rough. You know, if you look obviously on the camera, on the images, it looks like a regular pass. If you look from inside, it's actually very brutal. And again here, there you go, and you know, nobody passes. You can't pass here. It's just too short of a corner. You can't pass. He knows that, but he knows that he's also going to be supported by me. I'm outside, so he just takes the risk, just brakes later. I mean, it's easy to do like this, but you have to have some kind of respect. And for some races, it hasn't been the case. And some people seem to get away with everything. So I'm really pissed off at that, to be honest. Because this is a contact sport for sure. It's not a fighting sport, and I think we need to be careful with how things are gonna evolve from there. We need to maintain calm. Yes, it was an important place. Yes, but you cannot take it at any cost. And they know they are faster than us at the end of the race. You know, so one way or the other, he could pass. It's just not the right way to do it, I think.
Have you had time, have you spoken to Andy yet? Will you? What will you say?
I will speak to him. I haven't seen him yet. I've seen his teammate as well, which we have some contacts at the beginning of the race, and we clarify things. I will speak to Andy, obviously, but he knows what he's done for sure anyway, and he knows what I think. So, but we'll speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as ever, there will be two sides to the equation. Repairs going on to tape up the front of the air dam on Augusto Farfus's BMW. Tyre marks on the door there. I don't think either of the RBM cars got through the race completely unscathed. But then, James, it's a hard track to overtake on. It's a glorious track to come and watch at. It's a thrilling track to drive, but it is a hard place to overtake. And with touring cars, you know, to some degree, there is inevitably going to be some body contact, because actually it doesn't normally pitch you off the road in the same way that it would do with a single-seater car like the Formula 2 cars we've just been watching.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's part of racing. You know, touring cars manoeuvres have been going on like that for years, and to be fair, Thiago's never been backwards and coming forward when he's dishing it out. So I think he's just been on the receiving end. Obviously he's disappointed. He got bumped down to 9th place, which means effectively, you know, he's not on the front row. But you know, I think that you can't have a lot of grievances with that.
Slightly worrying there that we just saw a Chevrolet being towed round by a snatch vehicle. Now, I'm assuming since he was at the bottom of the pile in race 1, that may well be Darrell O'Young's car. We did see that the car had stopped on the slowing down lap just out of Paddock Hill Bend. So that was okay. So those were recorded images. I was going to say, I can't imagine they'd have waited till after the Formula 2 race to drag the car back. So that caption from a little earlier on. Good. Right, that's that done. Unfortunately, so much going on here in the World Touring Car weekend, didn't quite catch up with that, but he is okay. Harry Volkart, his teammate in the other Bamboo Engineering Chevrolet Lachetti. You can just see through the doorway there. And they are all now getting ready to head out of the pit lane and onto the grid for the second race. Cars heading out of the pit lane now at the as the pit lane is open, and some out very quickly indeed. Of course, you do have the option, if you need it, to change tyres on the grid, but those that are leaving seem to be okay. Now, we heard about Caco Bueno's car being repaired. Let's hear from him now, see how things are going.
Caco Bueno, we saw your car in flames in race 1. Tell us what happened.
The engine started to move because it broke in one spot, and moving and cut oil, electrical, all the stuff, and fired, broken a lot. The guys try to fix it, but we don't know yet. I believe yes. I believe I started the pits, not start to the grid line, but start the race, make the race, and learn a little bit more.
So you do think you're going to make it to the start?
Yeah, I believe yes. That the guys really try hard, and we believe it starts last positions. A shame, but it's very important to me make some laps and learn a little bit more.
Thank you. I'll let you get ready.
James, as you can see there from those shots recorded when the boys set to, the RML boys, it's not the work of a moment. You know, let's think about this. We're taking out the engine, the transmission, and not just putting a new bit in, which was all clean and tidy, into a clean and tidy engine bay. Don't forget, there's been not only a big oil explosion, but a big fire under there as well. So, huge amount of work to do. Well, let's catch up with David Grace now. He's the team manager at Chevrolet, because we need to have a little idea about what is progressing with this possibility that Alain Menu is being investigated for, well, perhaps being subject to team orders, dropping back to 7th place on the grid. Of course, now he's, as you can see, nearly 100 points off the championship lead, and he was telling us a fortnight ago in Portimao, realistically, his championship is over, and he's just going to try and win races now and support his teammates as much as he can. And that looked exactly what he was doing in race 1, dropping back. But I don't know. I mean, do you really think the team would need to say to him, Alain, you know, you've done your job, why don't you drop back now?
Well, I think, you know, it's obviously something they've discussed. I mean, if the team had the chance of a 1-2-3 in the race, and they weren't thinking and weren't worried about the second race is just a bonus, shall we say, then they would have taken the 1-2-3. Obviously, it's something they've talked about, and, you know, Alain's dropped back and he wants to win race 2. And that really is the way I see it, you know, the end of it. And I'm sure they may say, no, well, we didn't do that. But I think ultimately, if you want to come away from here having won both races, yes, what a fantastic result that would be for Chevrolet.
But you see, he's old enough and grown up enough and experienced enough to make that thought himself without waiting for the team to tell him. So let's hear from Eric Neve now, the boss of Chevrolet Racing.
Eric Neve, we've been told that Alain Menu is under investigation for pulling back to make it for pole for race 2. What do you think?
Well, you know, Alain was under great pressure throughout the race from Turkington, and this must have put his tire under enormous stress. And once he lost the battle to Turkington, that has really put him out of pace, and then he had to defend against other competitors, unfortunately unsuccessfully. So, and it all happened. It's actually maybe one lap too much, and yeah, that's how it is.
Pressure on tyres can be quite tough here in Brands Hatch.
Well, the stress he had to put on the tyres to defend his position against Turkington is really the key. And once Turkington had passed, he, as I said, he lost the pace, and that's how it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, and go back to evidence, unless the stewards can produce radio transmission saying, Alain, drop back and take the pole for race 2. I'm not sure they've got a leg to stand on. They have to prove intent, and they have to produce the evidence. We'll have to wait and see exactly what happens after the second race here. Grid now filling up. Pit lane is still open, and not sure whether Caca Bueno's Chevrolet has left the RML garage yet. Maybe that the Brazilian will have to start from pit road after the standing start. You can see air temperature coming up nicely, 20+ degrees, 36 degrees of track temperature. It is pretty humid and muggy. There's quite a lot of cloud overhead, not grey cloud, but just white cloud. But a bit of sunshine, bit of cloud. Keeps the temperature down, means that you're not going to burn yourself too badly sitting out there in the grass, watching the action. And it's a busy program as well. We've had the first touring car race straight into Formula 2, straight back to the World Touring Cars, so not much respite for the fans.
You've been non-stop. I even had to bring your lunch up.
I know. That's one of the delights of the weekend, is that you go on there and then you spend the whole race Hank Marvin, because it's always meal times when we're broadcasting, and unfortunately I can't quite persuade my body to get around it. 2 Coronels, for those of you that didn't watch yesterday in qualifying or haven't seen the first race. Tom Coronel, as usually is, in number 2 Seat. Tim Coronel, his twin brother, is also in the World Touring Car paddock this weekend, as well as in the support race Seat Leon Euro Cup, which you'll be able to see a little later on in the afternoon live on British Eurosport and Eurosport. He is also here, and Tim driving at very late notice in the second Engstler BMW, the car that's normally driven by Andrei Romanov. Franz Engstler, in fact, gave Tim a call. Tim was saying to me earlier, at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, Tim, could you drive our car for us? So it was all a little bit late, and in fact, he's in liquid moly overalls with Romanov, Andrei Romanov's name. So he's in the Romanov suit, because his own, of course, is a completely different raft of sponsors from his Euro Cup car. So
I'm sure he's relishing the opportunity.
There's something very nasty happening with your headset, James, isn't there? So we'll...
a technical glitch.
Yeah. There's Caca Bueno, and talking to Marcello Lotti, the boss of KSO that runs the championship, administers the championship. And Bueno, well, you know, you've got to be a bit sanguine about these things, haven't you? You know, it's either going to happen or it's not. The boys are killing themselves to try and get the engine back in the car.
It's just such a shame when he's come all the way from Brazil, and I know he was talking to him earlier, he was looking forward to actually, you know, completing the races. You know, he's short on mileage round here. He's thoroughly enjoying driving the track, the car, the ambience in the team, and basically he just wanted to finish both races and you know, have a cracking weekend. And you know, obviously it's gone up in smoke.
Yeah, literally as well as metaphorically. Rob Huff and Ivan Muller, who were 7th and 8th on the grid, of course, are top 2 in race 1. Ivan Muller, the race winner, as the top 8 get reversed, ends up down in 8th place on the grid. Not too many other tales of woe. Tim Coronel there, you can see 22nd place rather than Tom Coronel. I just had a slight moment's panic there before I realised, of course, it is BMW rather than the Seat logo alongside. And just like to say happy 50th birthday to TC. You know who you are. There is nobody else does this.
Zoe's down to 50th birthday. So well, unfortunately, I missed the party in Scotland last night.
Goodness me. And there is, again, Bueno's car is in the garage, and the boys, well, this is recorded during, a little earlier, during the Formula 2 race, the boys working hard on that, and we are going to have to do something about your headset, James, because it is causing an awful lot of noise, so we'll turn you off and make sure that it's you, and try and change that. Oh, no, it's still... I'm still getting noise in my ears. I have no idea if you're getting noise in your ears at home, so it's not James's headset. It may well be mine. That's not to worry. On the hoof. I've never been an engineer. I don't pretend to now, but I can't see. There's nothing loose and nothing's given me a belt, which is normally what happens when I investigate electrical items. Nonetheless, here we go. Championship being led by Ivan Muller still from Gabriele Tarquini. The gap now 28 points. Gabriele finishing well up the order, but of course Ivan getting another 25 points for winning the race. Race 1, and Gabriele now, of course, will start in front of him in race 2, so to try and reduce that gap will be his prime target. Colin Turkington, 16 points, finishing on the podium in that first race. So good result indeed for him. Really, really impressed with the pace of Colin and his West Surrey run eBay Motors BMW, and yes, great to see him back on form, really enjoying himself here at Brands Hatch, a track that clearly works well with him.
You can't have a driver like that on the sidelines, you know. British touring car champion, he wins the series and then literally has nothing to drive. And you know, not that that entitles you to, you know, to a right to race for the rest of your career, but the fact of the matter is the World Championship is where the top guys should be. And it's great to see now with the new sponsors and the funding, him in the championship. He's a quality addition, and he's put the cat amongst the pigeons in the first race.
Absolutely. Now, right, something very odd has happened again, so we're still not free of our gremlins.
I'm not sure just hitting it is going to make it work.
I know. Now I can't hear myself properly, so hopefully everybody else can. We will press on regardless, because the only other option is to go outside and have an ice cream. Ooh, nothing. There's a thought. Oh, no, it's really coming back again. Oh, so here we go. Jordi Janay then, 11th on the grid, and had a bit of a fighting race one, didn't he? In fact, there was an awful lot of action in race one. It is difficult to pass at Brands Hatch, but that didn't stop everybody having a try, did it? It was really quite a breathless race all the way around. In fact, we've had a few in a row, because Portimao, I seem to remember, not breathing in an awful lot during the races.
No, that's right. I mean, and to be fair, a lot of the best battles were further down the field. The independents looked like they were having a right good scrap and tussling over every position going. And indeed, we know Colin obviously you know, blew the rest of the independents away, but apart from that, everybody was very closely matched and you know, squabbling over the points finishes.
I just saw Kathy Muller walking away from her brother's car, Ivan Muller, with Justine, Ivan's new wife as well, and just a couple of rows further back is Thiago Monteiro. Starts in 9th place, in fact the row further back, and he starts in 9th place, where he finished in race one, just tantalisingly close to that 8th place flip-flop for the pole for race two. But as it is, he starts behind the Chevrolets that dominated in race one. And we heard not wildly over-impressed with Andy Prio's move on him, or Augusto Farfus's. So, but you know, sometimes you do have to take what's almost on offer, because chances don't come along all that often. And yeah, Prio made a forceful move, but again, it is touring cars, and as they do love to say in the States, Robbins racing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, touring car, like I say, touring car racing, that's very nature. You know, you swap a few ounces of paint and you lose a few wing mirrors. And as I say, I've been on the receiving end of quite a few Thiago's overtaking manoeuvres, and they've been a lot more robust than that, shall we say.
8th place for our race one winner, Ivan Muller. Rob Huff, I thought a couple of times in the closing laps, definitely positioned himself where, if there was a mistake from Muller, okay, they don't happen very often, but if there was a mistake from Muller, Rob would have been right there to pick it up. I don't think that he was ever in a position where he was really going to try and force the issue, because second place and still being buddies is better than no points at all and being in the gravel. So
and in the doghouse for the team.
Yeah, exactly right. So certainly getting the points was as important to him as getting the win, very probably. Colin Turkington then starting in 6th place, 3rd in race one, and as we said at the end of the first race, really disappointing that he got, well, eased off the track would be a gentle way of saying it. He got punted off in both races in Portimao right at the beginning, when again he was right at the front of the independence field. When here he was not just at the front of the independence field, he was pretty much at the front of the entire field. So very quick indeed in free practice, and missed out on the chance to beat Ivan Muller to pole by not very much. He starts in 6th with Gabriele Tarquini alongside him in 5th position, at least until the lights change, because at that stage the BMW will very likely make a slightly better getaway. But Tarquini this season, James, among all his other assets, curse him, is that he can get this thing off a standing start and pick up a couple of rows almost without exception in any race. He's got that, the start with that car. Now, of course, he'll go straight out through the back of the back.
Commentators.
Absolutely, but he has made some absolutely blinding starts.
Yeah,
standing and rolling.
He's been driving the car for like, how many years now? Three years?
62.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, he's definitely got the start nailed, and we've seen every start this year he's made ground. And to be honest, he's on a good place to start. He's slightly on the downhill slope. Pole position here. Not that it is ever a hindrance, because with it being a staggered grid, you're always ahead of the opposition. But you are starting on the uphill part. The best place to start generally is P2, because you're a little bit flatter. But of course, if you've got a BMW, you're onto a winner anyway off the standing start line. But it'll be interesting. We've got two people who've got nothing really to lose. Andy wants to win in front of his home crowd, and you have Alain, who is really towing the he's the third place in the championship in terms of the Chevrolet guys, so you know he's not going to be allowed to win a lot of races. And so now's a fantastic opportunity with his teammates behind him.
Definitely, definitely. And, you know, unless they come steaming up behind him in the last couple of laps as a 1, 2, 3, he will not be yielding to anybody. He won here last year. He won here in the rain in the first year. Has he won every year? I've got it in my head that he has won every year we've been here, one race.
I think you're right.
I do have that in my head. And
well, he won in 2007.
Yeah.
I finished second behind him.
Yeah.
And I think he won last year. He won the year before. Yeah. So yeah, he must have done every year.
I think we're right. I think so.
Maybe not the first year, not 2005.
No, the very wet weekend. No, he won one of the races there. He won. In fact, was that not?
You are a fountain of knowledge.
That was his first win for Chevrolet, I think. Oh no, probably. See, I'm getting myself all confused. And then he was saying his previous win at Brands Hatch had been 12 years earlier in the Mondeo. Blimey, that's quite a while. Andy Priaulx then will start this race from pole position, and you have to say he and Augusto Farfus will be definitely looking for a 1-2 result here for the BMW team. Once upon a time, the paddock there at Brands Hatch was filled with Formula One trucks, and even then it felt like quite a small paddock with any sort of Arctic in it. They basically stretched down to the fence behind the pit lane garage there, and it's a very small track, a little bit like Zolder in a way, is that the paddock is hemmed in by the track on both sides, so the cars are always creating a lot of noise, and for the fans, a great opportunity on this, particularly the first part, the kidney-shaped Indy circuit of Brands Hatch, named Indy circuit when the Indy cars came over here in the 70s to race. It's a great viewing. It's a natural amphitheatre. It's all in this big bowl. Pretty much wherever you are, you can see several corners. There's our cameraman on the top of the roof next to us. No shots of me this year, thank goodness. We're a little too far from the window for him. Excellent. And Eric Neb, everything crossed, wearing the traditional bow tie after success for Chevrolet. So that indicates pole position for them. And of course, Ivan Muller converted that into a race win in race 1. Andy Priaulx starts in pole position for race 2. And there's no question, James, that he will be looking to do exactly the same thing, convert it into pole. Dahlgren's car does not move.
Oh, that's such a shame. I'm saying it's been a quality addition to the grid this weekend. Great to see them come across here. Unfortunately, unless he gets going before the last car passes him, he's going to have to start from the last on the grid, which is a shame because I think he would have had a very strong race. I'm sure they'd have learned a lot from race 1 and would have featured very strongly in race 2.
Agreed. At the moment, I think he'll probably take starting last place on the grid if it means getting a start. Rob Huff on board, just swinging the wheel from lock to lock, keeping the tyres nice and hot. Yeah, this is important, particularly in the BMWs. You know that they struggle a little bit with tyre temperature, and obviously that helps them in the race as it comes to them. The more laps they do, and conversely, the front-wheel drive cars are better on lap 1 than they are on lap 2, 3, and 4. The tyre degradation goes the other way for them. And Colin, I think, is in a very, very good position here. Oh, that's very unfortunate. Well, Dahlgren being wheeled back down into the pit road, and that means that he has got no engine at all, can't get it started. Whether he's got a starter motor or not, I don't know, because didn't see anything. I mean, he couldn't hear it churning away, but he probably wouldn't have done on the effects mics anyway with the rest of the field going past. Swinging into the Grand Prix loop, they come down the hill here, down into Dingledale, and of course that was the scene of Johnny Herbert's monstrous Formula 3000 accident all those years ago, and then up into the braking area for Hawthorne, the first right-hander, named after Britain's first ever Formula 1 world champion. Swinging right again then, the second right-hander on the Grand Prix loop they are at now, into Westfield, another quick corner with precious little runoff on the exit. Then dropping down through Dingledale, that's the depression there at the bottom, up to what was Dingledale Corner, became Dingledale Chicane, and is now named after the late great Barry Sheene, as Dahlgren's Polestar Racing boys rush him back to the garage to try and get the slave battery on and do something to get him into the race, even if it's from the pit lane. Out of Sheene, the right-hander, down to Sterling's Ben, cambered left-hander, pretty slow. What's that, second gear, maybe third gear in these cars, I guess?
Surprisingly, it's surprisingly quick, actually. It's deceptive. It's third gear, and it's one of those corners. There's a lot more grip than you think, because you can't pick it up on the TV quite so much, but it's very, very heavily cambered, and so a little bit like racing on the oval, you really can send the car in quite early to the corner, and it literally grips up in the middle and sort of fires you out the other end. The big problem with that corner actually is the exit, because the exit curve is very, very rough and very bumpy. And it's that unsettles you, so you actually can lose the time on the exit of the corner there.
So cars forming up on the grid then, getting ready for round 12 of the championship. We are moments away from the second half of the season. Cars ready then, almost the entire grid has formed up. We have lost the Volvo of Robert Dahlgren. He is in the pit lane. No sign yet of Coco Bueno's Chevrolet being able to start the race, so we may have lost him. Dahlgren's car is not a pit lane exit as the red lights come on. Your pole sitter is Andy Prio underneath the Marriott Hotels board. And as they go off, away he goes. Away too goes Augusto Farfus. Little wiggle in the tail from Prio, and Farfus has got a much better drive. He's coming around the outside of the former champion, and that's Christian Poulsen in the barriers in the background after contact, where they're about 4 or 5 wide. Farfus has the lead over Prio, and that will really annoy Andy Prio. Good attempt to get away quickly from Alain Menu, but he was outstarted by the BMWs. A Menu in third place in the blue Chevrolet's already got Colin Turkington right behind him, and it looked like Tarquini and Coronel in that order in 5th and 6th positions. Yes, Coronel in 5th, in 6th rather. Oh, and goodness me, Stefano D'Aste coming off the barriers as he drifted very wide indeed out of Druids, which is always a potential drama. But Farfus really making a great start. 3 wide. Muller goes around Montero to hold on to 8th place, and Norbert Mikulis in the blue Seat was right behind Thiago out of Surtees. Onto the Grand Prix loop they come, and Harry Volkard coming back up the order with Colin Turkington. This is race 1 all over again, isn't it? Chasing Menu for 3rd place.
Yeah, it's a deja vu for him, isn't it?
All over again, yes. So Farfus and Prio leading at the moment. Menu in 3rd, Turkington looking to make it a BMW 1-2-3, but Prio now has to work really hard. Farfus has got a slight points advantage over him. Andy doesn't want to let himself be counted out of the battle and have to support Farfus for the rest of the year. We're only just into race 12 of 22. A big slide from Thiago. Oh, and he comes back on. Doesn't take off Mikulis, but he does take off Jordi Janay, another of his teammates. Dear, oh dear. Well, you know,
having a bad day, Thiago, today.
Not having a great time, is he? And here comes Boardman up the inside, contact, and that's going to damage Tom Boardman's left front corner. And Boardman immediately slow, and D'Aste again. Is that D'Aste or Hernandez? Rally crossing his way around the gravel trap. Well, you keep your foot in and keep your steering lock on, and you should hopefully escape. Oh, calm down, boys, calm down. Farfus leads from Prio up the inside, and he just shows his nose and manages not to have an accident with Augusto. The Brazilian drifts out wide on the exit, but Prio is desperately trying to win this race in front of a home crowd, and his dad, his mum, his wife, his kids, just about everybody they know from Guernsey is here in big numbers, as well as, of course, of a whole load of fans. Menu in 3rd. But for how long? Turkington is going to be in a quicker car as he was in race 1. I don't think Menu's got much chance of winning this. In fact, at the moment, it looks like he's not got much chance of being on the podium.
No, it's very, I tell you what, it's getting pretty hot up front. It looks like, you know, Andy wants to do everything in his power to get past Augusto, and who blames him? You know, we're here racing in the UK, he wants to win in front of his home crowd.
Freddie Bart in the pit lane. We also saw the car of, I'm forgetting, Danish driver, BMW, Poulsen, being pushed back into the garage. Thiago Montero is in the pit lane. What's happened to Boardman? He's still going, second in the independence category. He was 11th at the end of that lap. but everybody was coming around him, and still Farfus under real pressure from Prio as they sweep around at the end of lap 2, and he will be very close indeed now. Where's he going to have another look? Paddock Hill Bends, no, he's not close enough. Maybe up to Druids. Menu is starting to look a little bit aggressive there on the back of Prio. Turkington in 4th place. The two Seats are Tarquini and Coronel, then Huff and Muller 7th and 8th, where they started. Here comes Andy up the inside, nice and early, straight through, but Farfus gets turned around by Menu. It's a disaster for the BMW driver, and unfortunately he got a little offline. The door was so wide open, Menu was never not going up there. What it does is put Turkington into 2nd, but it's really bad news for Farfus. He'll rejoin at the tail of the field.
I really, for the life of me, can't understand that. It's almost like he just left the door open, or he was allowing Andy to come through. I mean, he just stayed out wide and then tried to cut back inside. I mean, it was just really not the place to let him through. Not so early in the race where the pack's so concertinaed up. I mean, you're only going to cause yourself problems.
Did he let him through, or did he just miss his braking? And when you come over the brow, James, just drifting out a little wide.
He let him through. He let him through. He slowed down. Andy had no problem at all. He just, for whatever reason, let it pass. I guess Andy was probably on the radio saying he's holding me up, but but this early in the race, now they're down. Well, they were 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the race effectively, and now they're only 1-2.
And now look, Tarquini in 3rd place. Ivan Muller is now up 2 spots as well to 6th, because Menu shot out the back of the pack, as did Farfus. So where they cross the line, we'll try and figure out in a moment. But Tarquini not only on the podium, but with a possibility of challenging for a race win here. Rob Huff now in 5th place across the line behind Tom Coronel. A really dramatic opening couple of laps here in Brands Hatch. 3 laps in now, or on lap 4 of 14. So Andy Prio with Colin Turkington in 2nd position. And at the moment, Turkington showing every sign of being happy to remain there, but whether his car has a little pace later on, we'll wait and see. Here's the start again. Turkington, look at that. 4th row back, the white BMW spears between Tarquini and Coronel, right up behind Alan Menu. And Poulsen, who does he tangle with? With Freddie Bart. He was trying to find a bit of ground to come around. I think Geordie Janae on board with Rob Huff. And that is
this is the problem.
Scorching start.
With the standing start, you can see the advantage the rear-wheel drive cars have as opposed to the front-wheel drive. And it's very difficult in that situation. We've got a very tight grid, and you know that they're going to be coming through, but you can't be looking forward and looking backwards at the same time. And inevitably, sometimes, they fill the gap where you're not expecting.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Christian Poulsen didn't quite manage to navigate his way around all the slightly slower moving traffic. That's what happened to Stefano. Was it Stefano or Sergio? Yeah, it was Stefano D'Aste. Just a little touch
really
from behind.
Lucky not to hit the barrier.
Yeah, the on board from Tarquini or Coronel, or whoever it was, at the end of the barrier, inches away, not even inches away. Back with live action, and Andy Prio, fastest race lap, a 1 minute 34.87, 1 minute 34.98 for Turkington in 2nd, 35.04 for Tarquini in 3rd. Prio's now starting to put the hammer down, pull away. Tom Boardman in the black car, 2nd independent, again right in front of Franz Engstler, and then wheel to wheel are D'Aste and Bernani. Bernani up the inside of Stefano D'Aste for 11th. Menu out of the race. Kaka Bueno never did join in. So 2 of the 4 Chevrolets back in pit road. 1 didn't leave, 1 is retired early. And the other 2, Huff 5th, Muller in 6th position. They're going to struggle to make any progress from there, I'm afraid. Well, that was D'Aste on the outside, and maybe Bernani lunging up the inside at Druids. Another classic Brands move.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's one of the overtaking spots, but usually the best one, to be honest, is once you exit Graham Hill, getting a run down into Surtees is probably the most preferable spot to overtake. Usually there is.
Yeah, carry on. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, usually there's a few repercussions if you try and overtake at Druids. People can then get the run on you down onto the inside of Graham Hill.
Now, I was just going to point out the car behind Stefano D'Aste, the all-white BMW there. That is Augusto Farfus trying to go by D'Aste for what would be 12th position at the moment. Augusto in 13th. He's got Geordie Janae behind him. Looking back from Prio, there is a little bit of real estate now between him and Colin Turkington, and Prio will be very keen to keep it that way. Towards the end of the race, he knows that Turkington's car is quick. There's certainly no flies on Turkington as a driver either. Here at Brands Hatch, he's got good success rate, and Turkington running less weight in the car as well than Andy Prio, so it's a slightly older car like the independent, the rest of the independent BMWs. Oh, and Engsler has a big lock-up right behind Tom Boardman. I do wonder whether that clash in clearways has actually slightly damaged the front end of Tom's car, because there's now a big gap opening up. Mind you, Mikkel Nukia, of course, is in a turbo diesel, so there would be a big gap opening up in front of the petrol engine Seat to Boardman anyway.
Yeah, it looks like he got away sort of scot-free with that. I mean, Thiago had to retire into the pits, and it was a sizable impact. I mean, the whole front of Tom's car went up in the air, so actually surprised he's still running. I can't believe there isn't some form of damage that possibly we can't see. Maybe the steering wheel is a little bit out of alignment, and maybe he's maybe sort of struggling on with it.
Farfus goes by Daste as Engsler gets a run on the inside. Does he? Doesn't he? Doesn't. No, on Tom Boardman. This is for second in the independents. Don't forget, Turkington and Boardman in front of Engsler are not going to be season-long rivals, but Mehdi Banani nearly alongside him in the yellow and red Vika Sport BMW will be. And Engsler desperate to hold on to his independent points lead. Farfus coming up the inside. Now, these should all be easy passes because they are other BMWs, but of course they are in a titanic battle of their own, so there's no givens there at all.
No, exactly, and Augusto will be dead set on trying to get past these guys as quick as possible.
And the other problem is, of course, they're using essentially the same car. The body panels might be slightly different, the weight might be slightly different, but actually the shell, the suspension, the engines, very similar indeed. Up the inside of Daste goes Genet. So Stefano Daste shuffled down now to 14th place. Sergio Hernandez, his teammate, right behind and almost alongside. No, not quite. Door shut there by Daste with the red mirrors, and Sergio with the Spanish colours on his roof. And two separate races developing now here. Top 8 and then 9th to, well, everything. Starting with Boardman and going all the way down past Daryl O'Young and Harry Volkart to Tim Coronel in his Engsler BMW right at the back, struggling with a real weight penalty, 40 kilos of ballast because he's new to the championship, plus an extra 40 because the car's got a sequential gearbox for Andrei Romanov, which apparently is cheaper than repairing all the engines that otherwise might not survive.
Very subtly, very subtly.
I possibly shouldn't have given that away, but there you go. That's the reason why the car has got the sequential gearbox, because Andrei just feels a lot more comfortable shifting with it than with the H-pattern box.
And I don't blame it, to be honest, because the H-pattern is very difficult. There's a lot more sort of going on. The sequential is very easy, and really it's modern sport, and generally it's pretty much in all championships these days.
A little bit of contact then, Farfus to Genet. Boardman still in 9th place, and Engsler now really under pressure for 3rd in the Independence Trophy, the Yokohama Independence Trophy, from Mehdi Banani with the yellow, red and white Vika Sport BMW. Augusto Farfus and Jordi Genet, just a little bump as they came out of Sheen on the last lap, 12th and 13th. Augusto still some places away from the points. He could really do with getting by all this lot and up past Tom Boardman. There, I'm afraid, though, the gap from Nukia to Boardman is already nearly 4 seconds. Nukia barely in sight as they come out of Druids.
Yeah, he's having a very low-key weekend this weekend. We saw him leading the race in Monza, and unfortunately we saw him also crying as he was punctured on the last lap. And yeah, it's a shame, because he's I know it's the first time that he's ever been here, so it's not an easy track just to get your head around straight away.
We cursed him then at Portimao by saying maybe he'd get a win there, and he immediately got shunted off. Rob Huff losing a place there to Ivan Muller. Muller going around him for 5th position. And was that a given or a taken position, I wonder?
Definitely a given. A championship leader, and 3rd in the championship.
You know, again, I'm saying too early, race 12, to be asking the guy who's 3rd in the championship and could easily end up being 2nd in the championship within a race to start giving away points to his teammates. Still too early. I mean, if last year taught us nothing, putting all your eggs in one basket like BMW did very early on cost them in the end.
Yeah, I think it's a different. You're dealing with a different situation.
Agreed.
The driver has already won the World Championship. They look like they've got the strongest package at the minute in terms of across the board. And he's leading the championship, and he's got a good gap to the other guys. And I think I personally think it's a sensible thing to do at the minute. If you're serious about winning the championship, the World Championship for the first time, then that's what you've got to do.
Well, yes, there is that Chevrolet aspect to it. Is they have not yet won a championship, and they're 6 years into their campaign. And yes, absolutely, this is the time. You know, they've got a world champion already in the team. So yes, again, I can see exactly the validity of the argument now. Whoa, Bernani touches Engsler and around he goes, and that was just plain clumsy by Mehdi Bernani. But what it does do is give Farfus 2 places and gives him an opportunity, which Genet comes through with him as well. Moves Stefano D'Aste up into 3 places as well.
That was just naughty. He didn't even try and look down the inside. He just sort of put half the car on the grass and then just ran into the back of it. I imagine Franz will be absolutely seething.
Yes, you're right. He was not even partially alongside. He just hit him from behind, and unfortunately it wasn't a spin and win or a tap to pass. It was just misjudgment there, I'm afraid.
They're the most frustrating as well. Sometimes you don't mind, you know, if somebody comes down the inside of you, it's a little bit rough, and you know, you carry on. But the worst ones are when somebody actually doesn't make an effort to overtake you and literally just hits you in the back and pushes you off, and they're so frustrating.
Well, he is now Mehdi Bernani behind Darrell Young in the first of the Bamboo Engineering Chevrolets. There Augusto Farfus is, which will put him up to 10th place and into a point-scoring position finally. Now, the question is, can he get to Tom Boardman and move up and get another couple of points out of this? He's just managed to get into the points. You've got 4 laps after this one. Now you can see the position at the moment. There are a couple of seconds between Boardman and Farfus, and Augusto at 1.1 at the line. Augusto will surely gobble that up, and Genet has got plenty of trouble from behind. Those 2 Pro Team BMWs are going to give him a really hard time in the next lap or 2. We're looking here at Jordi Genet with Stefano D'Aste and Sergio Hernandez behind him. James Thompson at Druids, they're still right there. They're having their own little inter-Nissan battle, and Genet just starting to escape now. The turbo hauling him away up the hill out of Surtees and just out of their clutches. Yeah, that's right. They're having a good scrap actually, inter-team battle. I'm not sure there's any team orders at all there. Obviously, they're both enjoying the race today. I would like to have money on Augusto having the fastest lap at the end of this race. I know he's suitably stoked up in the cockpit, and I think if he gets past Boardman in a hurry, I think we'll probably see him set the fastest lap, I would imagine. I think there's a very good chance of that. Andy Priaulx still leads from Colin Turkington. BMW's first and second. A factory car ahead of the top Yokohama Independence Trophy entry, Colin Turkington in that West Surrey Engineering Run car. Tarquini in third. The wily old fox again shuffling himself into a very strong point-scoring position in what is not a good track generally for SEAT. However, guys like Tarquini do tend to make the most of what they have. Stewards will look at the incident involving car number 8 and car number 10, 10 being Farfus and 8 being Menu, as Bernani's at it again. Yeah, Bernani misses his braking, and that takes Darrell Young out of the equation. Harry Volkard picks up 2 places, but with 1 Bamboo Engineering Chevy Lachetti less, as Hernandez in the background has a look at D'Aste. Through goes Farfus, takes 8th place, 9th place away from Tom Boardman. Yellow flags are out at Druids. Hernandez still trying to get around the outside of D'Aste, and Boardman giving a pretty good account of himself in a car that SEAT wrote off 3 years ago. And don't forget, Tom Boardman, not a world champion, and he is giving Farfus's currently state-of-the-art BMW a really hard time. I still think that the petrol SEAT has got much more mileage in it than SEAT ever gave it credit for, and Boardman is showing that it's not exactly a slug. No, that's very good. Oh my goodness! You put the commentator's curse on Sorry,
him again.
Tom. Sorry.
It's no, I mean, I have to say it's a really good car. I drove it in 2006, and the chassis is fantastic. Obviously, they always had a little issue with not having the the engine performance that they wanted, or we wanted from the car, and obviously that's why they moved to the diesel. But as we see Tom sort of, I don't know what happened there. It looked like he went straight on. Maybe straight off. Maybe there's some sort of power steering issue or something, because he actually looked like he couldn't steer the car, and then he's pulled to a sort of ground to a halt. So maybe there's something that we actually can't.
Well, that left front corner, is that left front wheel what drags him off there? Because he was pretty much on line. And
bear in mind, he had the contact with Thiago earlier in the race.
That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe that
we did say, well, okay, looks like he's got away scot-free with that. Usually it's your steering arm that takes, and you know, it suddenly just didn't go right any further once he got off that curb.
No.
And it's not like he hit it enough to jump up.
And here's a chap who's not going to be on many people's Christmas card list.
Dear, oh dear. Yeah. Well, Druids is not easy. It's not just straight up the hill into the corner. You come pop over the little brow, and if you don't get your braking done when you're uphill, James, when you come over the brow, forget it. You might as well not bother with the pedal, because you're not going to slow down anyway.
No, that's very true. That's very true. It doesn't actually look like he's been really making any attempt to overtake anybody. He's actually hitting them on the rear bumper, on the rear quarter, not actually getting down the inside. As I say, that's the most frustrating thing. If somebody's committed themselves to a manoeuvre, and you know that they have, because you look in the mirrors, you see them commit, then you have, at some stage, have to say, do you know what, I'm going to have to concede the corner, otherwise I'm going to be out of the race. The problem is with incidents like that, when people don't commit themselves and end up hitting you and pushing you off, that's frustrating, because you don't even know that we're really trying to overtake you.
Well, it suggests possibly, he's done it twice now, it suggests possibly that he might have had a sort of slightly iffy brake pedal, to give him the benefit of the doubt. Because neither of them, as you say, neither of them, he was sort of up the inside of somebody and bounced them off. In both instances, he just ran into the back of them, and that's, well, there's Tom.
He must have managed to get it back to the pits. So
safety car is out, collected the leader, and we are waiting for clear up to continue. So safety car leads the field round. Investigation will go on later into the incident between Mehdi Benani and Daryl O'Young. Well, Daryl's got nothing to worry about there. Can't see how. No, I won't say that. Let's not do that. There's Benani. Well, he's being dragged backwards out the gravel. Daryl O'Young's being dragged backwards out the gravel, but into a place of safety. I think Benani's car is there for the duration. And no, get out. I'm afraid once you've been assisted out of the gravel trap, you probably shouldn't be trying to take any further part.
Fine figure of man.
Hey, don't knock it. We can't all have a body that's a temple, James. Daryl O'Young there being pushed away. That's a shame, because he was really quite enjoying himself here at, I was going to say Silverstone, Brands Hatch, I think, for the weekend. And Harry Volkard now up to 4th in the independence category. And Huffy Fan Club again seeing themselves on the big screen, clear across the other side of the circuit.
This is going to be good news for Farfus, because we know he's got very strong pace at the minute, and now the group's actually concertinaing back up again. I reckon he's going to be able to pass Nuki, particularly the way his weekend's sort of been going.
Graham Prior there in the cap, and his dad, his wife Jo on the, and his wife Jo on GP's left. So everybody over from Guernsey, as the Guernseyman Andy Prior leads our 3-time world champion. Safety car will stay out this lap. The lights will go off on the safety car in a moment or two. And as he gets to the end of timing sector 2, there it is, the beacon at the exit of Surtees, that's where the lights go off. So that's the indication to everybody, and they will be told on the radio by their teams as well, safety car is coming in. So Prior will start to slow them, not too much, because it is a blind corner around Stirling's Bend. You can't see around it too far, so you don't want to be back in the field right up into a big M25 style pile-up. The question now is, how close can Tarquini get with the turbo of the diesel engine? Well, the answer is not half close enough at the start. Prio's gone, Turkington's gone, Tarquini, an opportunity there, James, to move up when absolutely begging. He was nowhere near being close enough to Turkington. Meanwhile, Harry Volkard under pressure from Franz Engstler, and right behind Franz is the other Liqui Moly BMW of Tim Coronel. So Coronel has picked up a couple of places as well. as a result of all the shenanigans earlier on.
It was a strange restart because they weren't actually sort of really, you're supposed to be a minimum or a maximum of one car length behind the car in front, and as we can see from the video footage, you know, there was a football pitch in between Gabrielli and the two BMWs.
Engstler up the inside of Harry Volkard in the Bamboo Engineering Chevrolet Lachetti, and here comes Tim Coronel carrying 80 kilos extra in his BMW though, so that's going to make that climb out of clearways, out of Surtees rather, very hard indeed on him. So Engstler up to 13th place, and that means 4th place in the independence category. So he's sort of getting back up where he should have been before Bonani had him off earlier on. And Rob Huff in 6th, chasing Ivan Muller, who makes a massive mistake on cold tyres, clings onto it as his ice racing experience, 10 times Trofeo Andros champion, suggests that he always ought to. But luckily, Huffy was just far back enough not to collect him. Big moment for Muller here.
Yeah, he did really well, because you run out of room very, very quickly. And that's definitely a good save. It's a 10 out of 10 for artistic impression.
It certainly was, and Huffy doing the right thing. Aim for the accident. Go towards the moving car. Hopefully it will either have got out of your way or righted itself. And Muller again,
he's working
very
hard
tail happy through paddock.
Yeah, he's working pretty hard in there at the minute. Doesn't look very comfortable with his car. Rob actually looks like he's got a little bit of a stronger package in this race.
So straight after a safety car, Ivan's got a really tail-happy car. Is he running a different tyre pressure, a different camber or something that has dropped the temperature of his rear tyres dangerously low? I mean, that's what it looked like, is that there was no control over the rear. There was not enough grip there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he's just run a little bit wide. One of the things out the back is because there is no curb, it's literally a white line and then grass. If you do, sometimes you do drift wide onto the grass, and maybe to Westfield, which is the corner before, maybe you just drop the rear wheel onto the grass, and so the next corner when you arrive, you have a dirty left rear tyre, and so you get the oversteer.
Saw a little ripple from the RBM garage. That was Farfus going by Mika Nukia for 8th position, which would have been great if it was race 1. Sadly, it's race 2. Well, again, you see, from the viewpoint of Rob Huff, the previous lap, Ivan was definitely losing it going in. So I think you're absolutely right, is there was something maybe just not giving him quite enough grip on the rear, and a dirty tyre would perhaps suggest just enough to tip the balance. As we said, Ivan very used to spending his winters looking permanently out of the side window, so catching a small slide like that, not exactly a work of massive importance for him. Last lap, Andy Priaulx leads Colin Turkington, BMW 1-2, Tarquini 3 ahead of Coronel 4. We're on board with Farfus. Mikulis goes defensive and goes early on the inside at Druids. Now Farfus trying to cut back. Mikulis drifts out a little wide. Farfus picking up his back bumper and helping him to hurry up down the hill a bit. Farfus wants another place. I don't care whether it's 8th or 7th or whatever. If there's a car in front and the checkered flag's not come out, he's going to go for it. And Coronel showing his nose again to Tarquini for 3rd place. I don't suppose Tom will force a way through, but if Tarquini's not got the pace on the last lap, then Tom may well put himself up on the podium.
Yeah, exactly. There's no harm in showing Gabrielli that you mean business, and if he makes a mistake, you know, then you leapfrog him onto the podium.
Farfus in 8th place as we ride with him. Norbert Mikulis in front, and again the run up from Surtees onto the Grand Prix loop. The turbo diesel just pulling it away from the BMW. And from my viewpoint, James, I don't know what a driver would think of it. Turkington still half a second off Priaulx's back bumper. He's got there, he's staying there. He's not going to win the race in front of a potential world champion who's also a BMW driver, and again cross himself off, well, potentially BMW Christmas card lists. I think he might have the pace to win the race, but I don't think he's necessarily got the intent to take it away from Priaulx, and Priaulx is going to win at home at Brands Hatch. Victory for the 3-time world champion. The Guernseyman wins, the Ulsterman in 2nd, and the reigning world champion takes 3rd place. Well, they rise to their feet in the RBM garage, applauding that. His 4th win of the season, Andy Priaulx. 4th win of the season. So he is now the most successful World Touring Car driver ever in terms of titles. Tick that box. And now win number 16. That puts him at the top of the all-time winners pile, at least in the modern iteration. So a very happy end to the weekend for Andy Priaulx. And after he was in a pretty depressed, grumpy mood yesterday, 6th in qualifying, the best he could do, plus the 10th-place grid drop. It was always going to be about getting to the front, getting onto the front of the grid for race 2, and again, he has produced the goods.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's 2 races in the weekend, and yeah, qualifying, you know, it's fantastic to be at the front of the grid, but you have to bear in mind it's not the be-all and end-all with having the top 8 reversed after race 1. So work your way into a position and capitalise on it with race 2, which
actually, in fairness, that was less cameraman and slightly more Joe Priaulx. She didn't know that Tomo was right behind him, turned to go and bang right into it. So yes, I think the glasses were the main injury there. Yes, absolutely. So she's off to meet husband Andy. And he comes back in, a little bit of a rub on the front of the car, but no real worries in race 2, starting from pole position, and did exactly what he wanted, dealt with the field into the first corner, dealt with the field all the way through, safety car didn't break his stride. And if you're Colin Turkington, even if you know you've got a car that's lighter, you feel it's quicker, is there mileage in, you know, really having a go at Priaulx and potentially risking taking him out and all of that stuff, bearing in mind that, you know, you are also driving a BMW?
No, he's done a fantastic job. I mean, you know, credit to him. He's had 2 podium finishes. He's finished second. He's only, well, just under 4/10 behind the winner of the race. And he's an independent. So, you know, what a great weekend for them, and thoroughly deserved.
Absolutely, fantastic effort. And the second independent category driver, Stefano D'Aste, 11th place, just ahead of teammate Sergio Hernandez, with Engsler, Volkard, Coronel. The remaining independents, that's Tim, of course, Coronel in 15th place. So a 4th win of the season for Andy Priaulx. He has now won 1/3 of all the races this year in what is arguably the slowest car. Harry Volkard did complete the race for Bamboo Engineering. His teammate Daryl O'Young unfortunately did not. So he is now being retrieved from behind the barriers, and he will be sent off back to the pit lane. Andy Priaulx, though, on the other end of that balance, is the man who did exactly what he wanted here, to recover from a 16th place grid start in race 1, to get himself onto the front row for race 2 and take a win. Good job by him. And again, hats off to everybody involved here, to eBay Motors and to Lafarge as well for putting up the finance to run that West Surrey BMW for the British Touring Car champion Colin Turkington. And I think they've all really covered themselves with an awful lot of glory and pride, because they knew they could do a good job, and by golly they have.
Yeah, they've done a brilliant job, and I believe as well they've got another sponsor on board, Dolphin Lifts, I believe, and yeah, it's great. They seem to be attracting you know, the support that they deserve. You know, as we say, he's a quality addition to the field, and let's hope he can manage to stay here for the whole year.
Well, let's hope that that's the sort of spark that might ignite getting a deal together for him and West Surrey to join the field on a permanent basis next year, because I think they both, I mean, Dick Bennett's team is legendary in its engineering abilities, and I think Colin and them with a BMW or with an anything are going to be a great addition to the field. And again, it proves, and for other British drivers, you know, sitting and watching, like Tom Boardman has done when he's come back, you can run right at the front in a World Championship. If you're quick enough to be at the front in British Touring Car Championship, you're quick enough to be near the front here as well. And Boardman, with the petrol Seat, in the end ended up without any points, but he did a cracking job before what seems like the result of that clash took the steering away from him. Well, Priaulx is down there in the throng. There's Louise. So let's have a quick word with our race 2 winner, the most successful touring car driver in World Championship history.
Andy Priaulx, what a victory.
Thanks, yeah, it's great to win at home. I mean, so many Guernsey flags and British flags, you know, Union Jacks, and it's always the best feeling to win at home. And, you know, we've had a really tough weekend. We've been put to the back of the grid for an engine problem, and had all sorts of controversy, but we've turned it around and we've taken 25 big points in that race, and it's great to win at home. 4th win of the year. So thanks to Team RBM and BMW Motorsport. Really good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Priaulx posting himself his 16th career World Touring Car win. That puts him one ahead of teammate Augusto Farfus and Ivan Muller, of course, who scored his 15th in race 1. Round 12 then falls to the Guernseyman, Ulsterman in 2nd place, Italian in 3rd, Tom Coronel, Dutchman in 4th place. So the Seats not scoring badly here either. Ivan Muller and Rob Huff, not a lot of progress. Ivan started 8th, came up to 5th place. Didn't really reflect their qualifying pace in terms of race trim in race 2. Just didn't quite have enough to show to the 2 BMWs or even to the 2 Seats that they managed to out-qualify. And that's perhaps a little bit of a question mark.
Yeah, I imagine they're probably very, very conservative on setup. We saw Ivan obviously wasn't happy with the car. You could see he was hanging on to it, working very hard behind the wheel. And Rob certainly looked more comfortable, but I think they'll be very, very satisfied with the results from the weekend.
Getting lots of points and no punctures. Well, congratulations to Andy Priaulx. I mean, that is a tall man. Priaulx's not exactly a dwarf. That's a very tall man in that BMW shirt. Don't know who he is. And Colin Turkington there as well. There's our FIA World Touring Car doctor as well. Just down the road from me, from Coventry and Warwickshire Hospital. I was having a chat with him the other weekend. So we're leering around the Portimao circuit in the safety car. A real petrol head, a real genuine dyed-in-the-wool petrol head, as so many of the officials are, and of course the marshals here as well. You know, we always say that without the marshals there would be no motor racing, so what better opportunity for those of you that are at home and would otherwise be marshalling at a circuit, just happen to be watching this either after your day marshalling or live perhaps as well, and if you've got a weekend off. Thank you so much to everybody who dons the orange and gets out there to keep the drivers safe, no matter how foolish they may seem to be at the time, and make sure that motor racing can continue. Without them, there would be none of this. So just occasionally, it's always good to say thank you very much indeed to them.
Yeah, and I second that.
Well, they've dug it, pretty much every driver, including rank amateurs like me, out of trouble occasionally, whether or not we deserved it, whether or not we got ourselves into damn full places. Well, what a race weekend it's been for the touring cars. Full of action in race 1, jam full of action in race 2, and, well, a surprise result perhaps for Andy Priaulx, ending up with his 4th win of the season. We'll hang on and hear what the top 3 thought of it afterwards, because I'm sure there's a couple of tales to tell. One of the interesting conversations, though, might be with Augusto Farfus. We won't have time for that. We'll have to catch up with him later. World champion Gabriele Tarquini will be the first man out. 3rd position for the Italian. And again, James made the best of the start, made the best of what he had. Maximum points potential achieved realistically for him. They didn't ever think they were going to win here. And,
yeah, exactly right. When you consider he's been pretty much flying under the radar all weekend, never really challenged in any of the sessions, and yet the championship lead that Ivan had coming into this weekend was 15 points, and now, okay, it's only gone up to 23. And bearing in mind, Ivan was on pole, they looked like they could really dominate, and really Gabriele would be very, very chuffed to come away with that result.
Save the Queen for our winning driver. Get the flags up before we get the winning manufacturer's anthem out.
And now...
So Andy Priaulx celebrates. I'm sure he'd be delighted to have the Guernsey flag up there, but it is a Union flag. 3rd place trophy goes to Gabriele Tarquini, and again, it's a classic Gabriele weekend. Win when you can, scoop up the points when you can't.
Exactly right, and you know, this is the way championships are put together. He hasn't panicked. and basically he's picked up a lot of points. To say the gap's only grown by 8 points. With the new scoring system, pretty much is very much still within touch. 25 points for a victory, as we know. So really, at the moment, it is a two-horse race.
Colin Turkington second, Andy Priaulx winning. Both of them receiving warm applause from the British fans here at Brands Hatch. BMW taking the winning Constructors' Trophy, and our top rookie driver again, Norbert Michelis, in 7th place there. He had a good pair of races, actually. Again, a little bit below the radar, not involved in too many incidents. And the Yokohama Independence Trophy winner, that trophy goes to Colin Turkington. So 2 races, 4 massive trophies for the West Surrey team to pack away. There's the colours of Guernsey, and the Guernsey donkeys win it again. I was informed by a Guernseyman yesterday that they do like to refer to themselves as donkeys because they're very obstinate and hard-working. I'm not sure that Priaulx perhaps would reflect on being called a donkey behind the wheel, but certainly he's not a man who likes to give up. A 4th World Touring Car title is definitely still a potential for Andy Priaulx. Win number 4 of the season here in Brands Hatch, ahead of the reigning British Touring Car champion. What a day for both of them. Well, they break loose with the champagne, and that is where we leave it for Great Britain. Moving on then to Brno in the Czech Republic, and in James Thompson's case, moving on to back behind the wheel, I'm delighted to say, next weekend. Jimmy, best of luck in the European Touring Car Cup, mate. I hope it goes really well.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me in the commentary booth.
Always a pleasure.